Hey y'all, it's Alex from You Should Craft, and today we're going to make these super easy beginner crocheted bows. If you're following along in my Newbie series, we're on day 5 right now. And if you're not, and you're a new or new-ish crocheter, be sure to sign up. I threw the link in the description below. So anyway, these bows come in 3 different sizes. There are these teeny tiny ones, as well as a medium-sized one and a larger bow. And you can use these for any project. Like they would be cute on a headband, or here's a coffee cozy that I'm thinking about dressing up with a bow. I've seen them used as like bow ties for cats. So you do you with the bows. You can just make bows. You can use them as embellishments. You can use any color that you want. It's totally up to you. So let's get started with our supplies. We will need an H 5mm crochet hook, your acrylic worsted weight yarn. Again, I'm using Brava from Boy Crochet. And then you'll also need scissors and a tapestry needle. So since there are 3 different sizes, you can crochet one of 3 different sizes of starting chains. So start by getting your slip knot. Oops. And tightening up your yarn, and then prepping your yarn holding hand however you found works best for you. Hopefully by day 5 you've had some time to practice to figure out like what hook and yarn positions are best. And then we're going to make our starting chain. If you want to do the tiny small size, you're going to chain 10. I'm going to make the medium size, so I'll chain 14. And for those of you who want to start with the large, you will chain 18. So again, I'm doing the medium, and I'm going to crochet 14 chains. So 1, try to make sure that you have enough yarn out. Otherwise, it gets hard to make your chain when you get to like where the yarn joins your yarn ball. So I actually went 1 too many, so I'm going to undo a chain and put my hook back in. And so now I'm back at my 14 for my medium. And I'm going to crochet single crochets all the way across. So remember, we're skipping our first back bump, and we'll put our hook into our second back bump. So that SC in second chain from hook. And if you find that you make your chains too tight, you might want to, in the future, go up a hook size for your starting chain. And that will just help get them to be a little bit looser for when you're putting in your hook. I usually don't do that unless it's cotton yarn, but that's mainly just because I am not super organized with my hooks, and so I don't always have the next size up like readily available. It's usually in a project bag with a different piece of work or like on the ground somewhere. But that's more of a personal problem. So again, I'm just single crocheting all the way across. And if you remember from the single crochet video a couple days ago, I recommended that you chain 14, and this project is why. So you should be able to use some of those swatches that you crocheted the other day and turn them into these cute little bows. So here's row 1 done. And we're just gonna chain 1, turn, and keep going with our project. So if you are crocheting the smallest size of bow, the one where you chain 10, you are going to end up with 6 rows of straight single crochets. If you are crocheting the medium size like me, you'll end up with 8 rows of straight single crochets. And if you're doing the biggest size, the one where you chained 18, you will end up with 10. Sorry, I'm trying to crochet and talk at the same time. You'll end up with 10 rows for the largest size of bow. Okay, so here's my first 2 rows. So go ahead and continue. Again, small, you'll have 6 total rows. Medium, you'll have 8 total rows. And large, you're going for 10 total rows. So go ahead, pause the video, finish up those rows, and I'll show you how to turn it in from like a rectangle like this to a bow. So I have finished my 8 rows for my middle-sized bow. If you did the small, you should have 6 rows. Medium, again, 8 like me. And then the large, you should have 10 rows. So remember, we can count single crochets either individually, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or as you crochet, they kind of cluster, and there's a little like a divot or a valley every 2 rows. So we can count by 2s as well. So 2, 4, 6, 8. And another way to get an idea of where you are is that you can look at your starting tail. So any odd numbered row would end on the same side that you started on, and any even numbered row, so row 8, would start on the other side. So anyway, you don't need to measure this. You can kind of eyeball it, but you'll need a yarn tail that's about like 18 inches long, and the length doesn't really matter. So if it's like 24 inches, who cares? And then once you've trimmed your yarn, pull that whole tail through using your hook. And then you'll join your tapestry needle. And we are going to weave in our ends to the middle and eventually set up this little, I don't even know what to call it, like the bow shape. So how it kind of is raised up in the middle and then goes flat on the sides of that, that's what we are going to do right now. So I, again, like to weave in my ends kind of on the edges to start, which if your edges are a little bit uneven, which is pretty common with new crocheters, then this gives you the opportunity to shape it up just a little bit and make it less obvious. So weave in a little bit there. Pull it all the way through. Remember, if you find that you're changing this shape because you're pulling too tight, then you can kind of wiggle it back out to where it started. And so you can see that that didn't like 100% make this smooth, but it did help me make it a little bit more even, which is great. And then you want to weave your end through to the middle. So since we chained 14, which means that we have 13 stitches in each row. So you want to go to like number 7 in the middle. And that's where we're going to like start getting our bow shape. So I'm just kind of weaving through these stitches. And now I'm getting close to the middle, so I want to like be weaving up a little bit, and you can definitely like count over to make sure that you're in the right spot. But this is basically like the middle, but let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're pretty close. And so what you are going to do is take the middle, and the middle will go up like a little hill, and then the sides will kind of go up with it. So this is weird to describe, but hopefully you can kind of see what I did. It's basically like an accordion fold. So from the top, you're folding in, and then the opposite direction, and then folding the bottom in as well. So get it set up, kind of hold it like you would hold a bow. And then we're going to use our our needle to kind of make this be secure. Because we want it to keep that shape. So you can just whip through it a couple times to secure it. And then when you're done and you feel pretty good about it, the next step is that we are going to wrap our yarn around it, and basically until we run out of yarn, or until you're satisfied with the way that the center looks. So I think it looks best if there's like a little bit of extra in there. But some people prefer it if you just wrap it like 2 or 3 times. So that is the main part of your bow. Like you can see that it's pretty much done. And all that we'll do now is finish weaving in our ends. So my needle fell off while I was doing that. I'm going to reattach it. Yours might still be on there. Who knows? And then you can kind of push it through the center. And it doesn't really matter what your back looks like, because your back is going to be attached to something. So whether you're making a cat bow tie, or you're putting this onto a headband, or again, if you're putting it on another project like a coffee cozy or something, your back is not going to be visible. So I usually just kind of like jam my end in this little divot, or you could totally like trim it once you're satisfied with how woven in it is. And then you'll also weave in your starting tail. And it doesn't really matter where you put this because your bow is already secure. But I do like to use it to clean up the other side edges. So you can kind of check on it to make sure that both sides look basically the same. And then just finish weaving in your ends. And just like the first time, I like to get this going into the middle, except this time it's because there's already this like big chunk of yarn there. And so we can just kind of pull it through. And I pulled it a little bit too tight, which kind of threw off my shape. So I can pull it out a little bit to fix that. I can rearrange my wrapping a little bit if needed. And when you're done, you can just trim your yarn. Or you could also leave a tail if you were going to tie it to something. But so there is a bow. That's the medium size. So you can see on this one, I didn't wrap it as many times. Here are a couple in that small, like mini size. And then here's a larger one. So this is a super quick project. It gives you a great opportunity to practice your single crocheting. And you can make a lot of them. So go ahead and keep practicing. And I'll see you back tomorrow for the next day in the Newbie Series. In the meantime, make sure that you're subscribed to the You Should Craft channel. And check out the blog for more tutorials and free patterns. But thanks for watching.